Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our nightly restorative check-in with the National Parents Union. Today is Wednesday, April 22nd. Happy Chicano Park Day, happy Earth Day. I am Marisol Rerucha. I am the granddaughter of immigrants from Mexico. My grandmother, Camerina, was from Gómez Palacio, Durango. My grandfather, Alexander, was from Baja California. My grandfather, Francisco, and grandmother, Carmen, were both from Sonora. I am the daughter of Irma Castrona Branquevedo, and I am the mother of Camerina, Emilia, and Sofia, and the grandmother of Cynthia Iliana and Isabela Luna. And I'm also the wife of Daniel and the sister of Alex, Cameron, and Atia. So I'm so happy to be with you. The reason why it's so important for me to introduce my family is because and I'm the niece of Yolanda Castro. Hi, Mayoli. The reason why it's so important for me to introduce my family is that it is because of them that I am here. And this voice that you hear does not belong solely to me. It belongs to my family and all of my other loved ones who have poured into me, and also those who have poured into them through our generations. So welcome to our nightly restorative check-in. We're going to start with our breathing exercise. So remember, we do 4, 7, 8. So we're going to inhale for 4 seconds, we hold for 7, and then we release for 8. And we do this 4 times. So the recommendation is that we do this at least once a day. So you do it once a day with me, and I'm hoping that you're starting to see the benefits of it. We've been doing it for about, 2.5 weeks now, 3.5 weeks. I've lost track of time. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to do the countdown. Okay, you ready? Inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, release, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, release, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, release, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, release, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So today, as I mentioned earlier, is Earth Day. I believe that Earth Day should be something that we recognize every day because our planet has given so much to us. And we need to be good stewards of the resources that we've been provided, and we really haven't been. And so, just focusing on our Earth once a day, I think we should be focusing on it every day. Today is also Chicano Park Day, and Chicano Park is a very important park here in San Diego because it's not just a place where you take your kids to play and you have a picnic or you go to community events. Chicano Park is a symbol for our community here in San Diego. It's actually a national, it's like a national historic, it has some kind of a national historic title. In 1970, Chicano Park was taken over by the community. The city wanted to build a highway patrol substation, and the community really wanted that space to belong to the people, a place where kids can play. It's located in Barrio Logan, which at the time highly, and still currently, it's being gentrified, but very large Latino population. It's a working area. There were canneries there. Currently, it's where the shipyards are. So it's still very much, there's areas of it that are very commercial. It's right along the bay. And the juxtaposition of Chicano Park in Logan, right across the Bay of San Diego, is Coronado Island, which is highly conservative, where highly affluent people live, million dollar homes, multi-million dollar homes. And so the island is, Coronado Island is one part on San Diego Bay, the other part is on the Pacific Ocean. So a lot of water views. So Barrio Logan, the community stopped the development of the substation and said, like, this park is for us. And it was everybody in the community, so elders, students, little kids, adults, who claimed that space. And the goal was to have the park go from where it was located all the way to the bay, to have a beautiful space. And there was also a plan to have a mercado, a market area, like the ones that you see in Mexico, that idea of having this community area. And as I said, it's been gentrified. But it's, so 50 years ago is when the community took over Chicano Park. And the reason why it's on the national, is it the rector, not rectory, that's not the word, but it's on a, it's not a national landmark, but it's on a list of protected places, is because artists then started painting on the murals. So what connects Barrio Logan and the Coronado Island is a bridge. And the pillars of the bridge, the park, Chicano Park, is right underneath the bridge. So it's actually, there's a lot of shade, cool breeze. And so artists in the community decided to start painting. So there were murals there from the very, very early 70s. And there's murals that are still being painted today. One of our first guests was Liz Bonet, who talked about having her mural on, or she was working on a mural in Chicano Park with another artist. And that one is, that mural is complete, but there's almost always working on murals. And so it's a real place of pride. Another very connected to Chicano Park. So in that area, they have what's called the kiosco, which is kind of the center area. It's a stage area. And on the other side of the street is where ceremony happens. So there's a sweat lodge there, there's a circle area. So it's a very sacred space. There's a natural garden there with sage and cactus. So it's just really a beautiful place that means a lot, not just to San Diegans and Chicanos, but it has, we have a lot of pride in the space. And connected with that very intricately is Chunky Sanchez, who was my godfather. He baptized me, but he was a musician, and he was known as Cesar Chavez's favorite musician. So he wrote music that, he wrote Chicano Park Samba. So if you get a chance, please find it on YouTube. He also wrote music in our Spanglish, in both languages, that really represented the Chicano rights movement. And also songs that just really show the pride that we have in being Chicanos. And so I'm just really, we didn't mean for this to happen. We didn't mean for the timing to happen, but my god sister, his daughter, is with us tonight. So she was supposed to be my guest last night, and we had to change the schedule. And so Steve jumped over to last night, and then she's here with us tonight. So it is with a lot of love and a lot of honor and pride that I welcome our guest, Esmeralda Sanchez, who is also very connected. So Chicano Park Day today, I know, is also very important to her. Her birthday is on Saturday. So sometimes her birthdays would be on Chicano Park Day. So she grew up, we have a huge celebration for Chicano Park that's been going on for years and years now. Hi, Esmi.
Hi, can you see me?
Yes, and we can hear you. How are you doing?
I'm doing really good. I'm a little tired, but I'm doing really good. So it's so nice to be here. Thank you for having me. I
didn't realize it when we made the switch last night. that today that I was going to have you on the show, that happened to fall on what is considered Chicano Park Day. And so just such a beautiful honor. Can you introduce yourself? Tell us about your family, who you are, what you do, where you are.
Absolutely. So, just a little bit about who I am. Thank you so much for having me here tonight. I know I'm having some issues with my phone, so sorry about that. But my name is Esmeralda Sanchez. I'm the third child of Ramon and Isabel Sanchez. My parents were they met in San Diego, but my dad is the son of farm workers. He grew up in a small town called Blythe, California, and my mom is actually from San Antonio, Texas. So a little bit about them. They came and met each other at a place called Centro Cultural de la Raza during the time of all this movement happening. But in 1969, my dad actually moved down to San Diego and was a part of a lot of the movement that was happening there at the time. He was a student at San Diego State, and so he was able to walk out with all other students and be a part of what was happening at the park takeover in 1970. It just so happened to be too that my mom, she comes from a really big family. And so my mom and my grandmother and my grandfather and all of my mom's siblings were at the park as well. And they were there during the takeover as well. And like you were talking about, the kiosk was such a special place because my grandfather, Julio Enrique, was one of the first ones to actually bring tablas, so like boards, so that my aunt and my mom could all dance. They were the first dancers there at the park. So we have a long history of being at the park and being a part of the takeover. As you shared, my dad was the one who actually wrote the Chicano Park Samba. And so that story, it's not just a song, but it's actually a story of what happened that day and how the park was so instrumental in bringing together families, community organizers, and helping the community to realize that, you know, if we stand up together as families, we can really make a change in our community. And that was something that was really important because at the time, that was something that was needed in that community. There was so much trust on the community, wasn't enough support, and so they stood up and they took over the park. And since 1970, April 22nd, 1970, they have been, you know, having this, so they call it like a big, you know, like a Chicano powwow, but really it's a celebration to honor all that hard work and dedication. And 17 years, I always remember as a little girl marching from Chicano Park to Chicano Park on the Bay, which is now Casa Chavez Park, so that they could get Chicano Park on the Bay. And so that was always something that they had envisioned, that they had worked for, and that they had, you know, worked so hard to make happen. And not only my dad, Ramon Chunky Sanchez, but Tommy Camarillo, Josie Talamantes, you know, the Jose Brigade, you know, Jose Gomez Brigade. So all these different people that came together at that time to really bring a change to the community and really uplift the community and really help and support community work and what we needed at the time. So I'm just really grateful for my family and being a part of that.
So what has that been like for you? A lot of the people in the National Parents Union, it's really a group of activists, of advocates, I would say even agitators, people who are both, you know, like shaking the trees and collecting fruit. But as a child of activists, what has that been like for you? What was that like growing up?
You know what? I want to say this in like the most humblest way, but like I was really privileged. Like I was really privileged, and I didn't realize how privileged I was until I went off to college. I really thought like everybody grew up like us. I really thought that everybody grew up learning their culture, learning their tradition, learning where their family was from, music, and being proud of who they were, you know. And so when I went off to college, I realized how really blessed I was that my parents gave me the opportunity that they did. You know, Rodolfo Corkin Gonzalez and the whole Gonzalez family. We were so blessed to have people like Quirky and his wife Jerry in our home and growing up with them. And I didn't know how special we were until I left, and I realized like, wow, my parents really put down seeds for something for not just me, but for like all of our next 7 generations, that we could have something better. And at the time, I didn't realize what they were doing. I just thought that they were just making us go to another walkout, carrying another picket sign, not being able to eat grapes. You know, I just thought that this was just part of who we had to be. And I didn't realize, like, you know, the impact that it was having on my life and the impact that we were making on other people's lives, and how blessed we were, you know, how blessed we were to have all the things that we had, you know, to have our culture, to have music, to have dance to turn to be able to have such a big family and be able to share these stories. You know, my grandmother, she was a great storyteller, and she told us all these amazing stories. And so, you know, growing up in that way, you don't realize what you have until you step away from it. And that was something that I felt once I stepped away. I felt really, really blessed. So just really grateful. And, you know, as a child, I didn't really understand. Until I got older and I started to realize. And then it just became something of who we are. You know, it's actually who I still am today. Like, you know, I attest all like the community work that I do to my dad and my mom. You know, my dad taught me, if you want to help the people, you have to feed the people. And so that's what I still do today. Like, I help and I feed the people. Like, I help and I serve people in that way. So I think that it really shaped and molded just, you know, having this heart of like gold, like my dad has, and being able to just, you know, give back to community, you know, and helping them. One thing that it also showed me though too, because I saw like how my dad and my mom are like martyrs to the movement, is it made me realize that I also need to like be patient with myself and take care of myself and my family. That as much as we want to give back to community, we also have to give back to self. And that community work starts in the home. Like, you have to take care of yourself. So I would always talk to my dad about like being healthy, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. Like, part of the thing that we have to do is we have to be sober. Like, we have to be a sober community so that we can help and support our families in a better way. So that was something that, you know, like for myself was really important. And that's the path that I took. You know, and I think that those were the things that my dad laid out for me. He always made me proud of who I was. And so it allowed me to learn more about my culture, my tradition, and really take that on in a way where I can only help myself, help my family, help my children, and now get back to my mom and all my siblings and all my little nieces and nephews. So I'm really grateful.
So how have you learned? What are the things that you do to take care of yourself? How do you do that?
Well, I think, you know, one of the first and foremost things is prayer. Through prayer, I've been really in a lot of like prayer, meditation. Meditation has been one of the greatest things that has been helping me through these challenging times. Praying, lighting my, you know, smudge and my smoke, and just really, you know, asking God, asking Creator to like guide me through this hard time. I was talking to a coworker today about putting on spiritual armor. You know, I'm putting that spiritual armor so that I can stay protected and that I can help others in this time. Surrounding myself with other people that are like-minded, you know, so people who believe that, like, you know, we're going to get through this, but we have to be patient with ourselves, and we have to really find a sense of a spirituality, you know, and really dig deep into finding that work for ourselves, finding that self-healing. So those are some of the things that I've been trying to do, you know, praying, meditating. You know, right now we can't do our traditional ceremonies like going into a sweat lodge. But, you know, one of the things that we started is a singing group. And so this Sunday, actually, we're going to be doing we're going to be doing a singing group to be able to sing some of our songs and some of our traditional songs, and really just have an opportunity to share those words in a positive way, and to really help our heart heal, you know, and our spirit heal. So those are just some of the things that we're doing, you know. We're also trying to journal. And then we have, like I said, I'm a part of a women's collective. So we meet once a week virtually, and we're trying to be supportive to each other during what we call this cuarentena, these 40 days, you know, these 40 days of like self-containment, but really self-healing. So to get through this, I know a lot of people are really eager to leave their house, get out in the community, but really we should take this time to really take care of ourselves and our family and in our own heart and our own mind and our own spirit. I believe like we're not given this time in this moment forever. So like we need to really like seize the moment and really, take this time to heal ourselves. So those are just some of the things that I'm doing. And just trying to, like I said, be around like-minded people.
So
or talk to like-minded people. Go ahead.
Well, and I'm super appreciative that you're talking with us tonight. And you mentioned the cuarentena. Can you talk about, just share with us what the cuarentena is traditionally? Because it's very interesting to me that we're making those connections, between this quarantine and the cuarentena. So just share what it is.
Yeah, so the cuarentena is basically after women give birth, they are traditionally, and like many traditions, not only like in Mexico, but all over Latin America, in Asia, and Africa, they have this belief system that women should, after they give birth, 40 days after they give birth, should pretty much self-quarantine, stay home, not go anywhere, not be anywhere. And traditionally, when we used to give birth at home or with midwives, we wouldn't have to leave. The midwives would come to the house, they would check the baby, and they would be able to, make sure everything was okay with mom and baby. Now it's a little different because we do have to go to the doctors after we have the baby. We live in a different kind of society. But so many of us can still do the cuarentena, the 40 days postpartum. And what it's really about is about a self-healing. It's a really special time spiritually between mom and baby, where mom and baby are still like, they say when you give birth, in Spanish, they say, vas a dar luz, you give light. So you're very open, you open yourself up. And so you really want to protect yourself because anything can like kind of make you sick. They say that because you're still birth is cold. They say birth is really cold. So you want to make sure that you keep yourself warm. And so part of the cuarentena is maintaining that, staying warm, being able to keep yourself warm. That's why a lot of the grandmas and tias and, all the elders tell us, to keep yourself protected, to keep yourself, make sure you're always, keeping yourself protected because you don't want cold to enter into you because you can get sick. So it's this spiritual connection that you have between you and your baby. Your baby still has a real vulnerable spot in the top of its head or her head. It's called a mollera. And they say in the tradition like that, that's their tonali, their connection to Creator, to God. And so you're holding a space for you and your baby to be able to heal through that birth, but then also to bring them into this world, bring her into this world. And so the 40 days is really about just you and baby healing your heart, your mind, your spirit, and really just protecting yourself for what's to come. It's also really important time as someone who helps women breastfeed. It takes 40 days for actually women to build their complete milk supply for what they need for their baby. So there's a lot of science behind it. There's a science behind what you need to do to take care of yourself and the baby and how to feed your baby. So there's not just like the spiritual component, but there's science behind what we're doing at that time. And so that's why it's so important to just stay home, focus on yourself, focus on your baby, focus on your own personal healing, and just making that connection between you and baby. That bond is so sacred. Because they say that that's their fourth trimester, when they come out, that's their, their last trimester. So many different midwives and doulas talk about this. It's a real special time, and just we were really blessed, and we are blessed to be working with the traditional curandera who's taught us this work, and how to do traditional cerradas, and why that's so important. So I really believe that, here we are, in this time of quarantine still, and, being able to do this cuarentena for ourselves is really important because we're able to take these 40 days and figure out how we can heal ourselves, heal our mind, heal our spirit, and really keep ourselves protected. There's so much out there going on in this world right now. There's like a spiritual warfare going on. People are really lost. You can see it by all these protests. It's like, what are their priorities? Haircuts and like, I don't know what else, but it's really sad because there's people dying and that's their priority, so it's really important for, when we feel kind of hopeless and like helpless, to think about like, no, I can do the spiritual work for myself and I can be a better person. And that's really what we're trying to do as women and as mothers, and as sisters, is do that for ourselves and our families. And I feel like that's the least we can do, because the better that we can be as human beings, the better that we can be as like sisters, mothers, daughters, parents to our community. So I'm grateful that I have sisters like that around me, and I'm trying to do this work. And honestly, it's really hard. Like, I'm still at work every day. I'm really tired. But it helps me to check myself and to really it helps me to remind myself that this time is so special and I need to really take care of myself. And so the things that I think I need outside of my home, I really don't need, and that I could just focus on my own personal health and well-being.
thank you for that, and I think it's really important also to just to reinforce that the practice of the cuarentena is not just something that's from this land or from Mexico or Latin America, that this is something that has been practiced throughout the world. And it's really about that connection, the healing time. The traditional cuarentena, it's the connection between the mother and the baby and the healing of the baby, and also protection. And now we're in this space where we're all in this cuarentena. And then you also mentioned, and I agree with you. I think that and it's very interesting to me that the people that you're able to connect to are the people that are closest to you. So it's either the people that you're living with, or it's gonna, like your children. It's just very interesting to me. You talked about the cerrada, and I'm wondering if you could tell us a little bit more, because I think that this practice is something that I want you just to talk about it. Can you explain what that is?
Absolutely. So with the permission first of my elders, but so this is something that has been done since, time immemorial, since women have been giving birth in so many different cultures. There's many different Asian cultures that still practice this. I know in African cultures, as well as cultures from, like I said, Latin America, all throughout, Mexico, what they call Isachitzlan, Abayala, and so one of the things that we do is we have what's called cerrada. Like I said, during labor and delivery, it's a very intense time for a woman. She goes through her own ceremony. And so what happens is, as she's giving birth, everything inside of her is cold. And so what the cerrada is meant to do was not only like bring like her spirit back, but also return that heat back to her body, return that warmth back to her body. So some cultures, they'll do what's called a yoni steam or a vaginal steam, or they'll do some kind of steam. And then they'll wrap the woman up, and they'll do different kinds of wraps to bind her. They have different kinds of bindings. In the, I guess, Mexico, Mexican, however you want to see it, cultures that come from Mexico, what they've traditionally have done is they will go into what's called the traditional temezcali. And it's a sweat lodge that's made out of adobe, and it's heated. And so they return the heat back to the woman. And then in there, they actually use a rebozo, which is a traditional shawl that women use from Mexico, to be able to bind her again. And so this is a way in which we're able to close that part of that ceremony and heal our body like we're supposed to, because we're not supposed to stay open like that forever. And we're not supposed to keep that coldness inside of us, because it can eventually make us sick or give us problems later on in life. So those are really important things to understand when we talk about hot and cold in our body, and I know like a lot of Asian traditions talk about that, the heat and the cold, and so that there's foods like that as well. So that's what that's about, is bringing balance back into your life and bringing that healing back. And we're really blessed here in this community to be able to do those ceremonies and to help women in that way. And, we do those things because we believe that, bringing back our tradition and our culture is really important to our healing and our self-preservation. So those are some of the things that we do. There's more detail to it. There's herbs that we use. There's a certain way that we do it. But that's just, pretty much how we're taught to do that. And the purpose of it is really to just bring the warmth back into a woman's body, and that healing and that closing of the bones back, so that she can, return to the woman that she is, prior to her being pregnant.
So it's the return. It's the return to self. also.
Absolutely, absolutely. And some of the things that we've talked about, with our collective is even helping women. And because one time we were doing one, and it made me think about all the women that have lost children. Because we also do it, after women have had either miscarriages or child losses. And it made me even think about, helping women do this even after like a child has passed on, even a grown child, because that connection that a mother has between her belly button and the belly button of her child, it never goes away. Doesn't matter how old they are. So one time I had this thought of helping women that have lost their children, and my mother unfortunately has lost one of her sons. So thinking about all those women that have lost their children before they have gone on. So it's a way where we can bring healing to ourselves, our body, our heart, our mind, and our spirit. And obviously, done with care, with humility, and with teaching. We don't just do these things because we think it's right. We do these things because our elders are teaching us this. So that's really important to understand. We're not just doing a ceremony just to do a ceremony. We're doing teachings that were taught to us, and that were taught in a real humble, simple way, so that we can help each other be better human beings. And so we don't sell these ceremonies, and we don't promote them in a way where we're trying to appropriate our culture.
Which I can imagine is a struggle, especially with I think we've come to a space in our society where people are very comfortable, and people are also very comfortable with talking about spirituality, and also people are seeking spirituality. And I think within that, it looks, there's something about the practices that can look attractive, right? Like it's almost like a thing. It becomes instead of really coming from the heart and coming from the spirit, your spiritual godly practice, it's more of something like, oh, look at this cool thing that I did. I was with this, this curandera, this woman, this witch doctor, and then we went in. Like, so I understand that, and thank you for asking permission from your elders to share, because it's not that you want to like stop people from learning or coming in, but these are sacred practices that have been a part of our cultures for thousands of years. And so as they're being shared with you and shared and taught, it's something sacred that's being passed on to us. And so and we want to make sure that it's shared in a good way, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you said it completely right. Like, part of like that history of Chicano Park, going back to the park, is the park was taken over because there was a need, there was a necessity, there was a revival and a revitalization of our culture, of our tradition, of our language, of our danza, of all these ceremonies that we had lost, even right there in Kumia, Ipay, Tipay territory, like, so much had been lost, because that's where Chicano Park is at, in the traditional lands of the Kumia, and the Luceño people. But so it was a part of, not only bringing back our culture, our Mexican culture, our Mexica culture, our Nahuatl language, but bringing back all these other indigenous cultures, and revitalizing it. And so part of the responsibility, that's why I said I'm so privileged, is that we have to take care of it. We have to honor it, and we have to be patient with it. There's a mural at the park that has a fire, and that fire, there was a run that was ran there, and it was ran about 30 years ago. It's so interesting to see that, like, even 30 years ago, after that run happened, we're continuing to carry those fires. We're continuing to run in these traditional ways. And, the ceremony called the Peace and Dignity is, it's in honor of those fires, and we're continuing to do that. So, but we have to be patient with it. We have to have an understanding, and we have to be patient with ourselves. I think that that's the most important thing. I think that's the one thing that, growing up in this way, it's taught me, from the work that my parents have done, is it takes, a lifetime to learn not only these ceremonies, but like, once I have these ceremonies, like how to really practice them. And then this time where there's so much different like chaos and different like just so much uncertainty, it's so good to know that if I go back to my roots, if I go back to what my grandparents have taught me, I am really living in their tradition and in their culture. And that's making me feel proud of who I am and what I'm doing. And so I think that's really important for us to understand is when, people are seeking this, to start within their own family, to start within their own bloodline, to start within their own lineage. They'll be so surprised on how much their grandmothers already have taught them and what they already know. And that's really important because we want to be mindful of whose medicine we're picking up and if it's really ours to learn and to pick up. That's something that I'm always, working on and working with. Is this mine? Is this for me to learn? Is this for me to do? Or is it just something that I'm just supposed to respect right now and give it time to learn? So those are things that's really important for me as a mother, as a daughter, and as, a community helper. That's how I see myself, just a community helper. I'm trying to help myself and my family. So that's, yes, it's so important, for us to really be, walk lightly, tread lightly on the earth, especially today, tread lightly on the earth, because it's not ours. We borrowed it, so it's not ours.
Well, and you said like this is the work of a lifetime, but then you also said like the 7 generations. So can you talk to us about the 7 generations?
In many traditions and many cultures, they talk about the 7, there's numbers that are sacred, right? And so even like in the word of God, they say that's number 7 is sacred. 7s are sacred. So in so many different traditions, they talk about that 7. And so really what it's about sowing those seeds, 7 seeds, 7 generations behind me that prayed for me to be here today, and the 7 generations ahead of me. So the work that I do, the reason why I'm here today and why I have the ability to do the things that I do is because 7 generations ago, somebody prayed for me to be here. One of my elders prayed for me to do this work. And 7 generations from now, I'm praying for my great, 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 great grandbabies to be able to carry this work in the best possible way, for us to thrive as a people, for us to, be healthy, for us to really take care of the land, to take care of the earth that we're supposed to take care of our water. So that's what that's about. The 7 is really about, how do we not only pick up what our ancestors left for us, but then continue to, give it forward. How do we take care of those things? And we're pitiful human beings, we're not always going to do things right. We're not always going to be as earth friendly, as earth conscious as we need to be. But, as if we had that sense of awareness, then we get to practice it a little bit more every day. And we get to work on that every day. We teach that to our children. That's the least I can do, is teach that to my children. How can I be a mom who teaches about the next 7 generations? And so having them honor that and take care of that, I was really proud of my daughter today. They had a small little gathering at Chicano Park in honor of the 50th anniversary. And my daughter carried that fire, and she felt so proud and so happy that my mom told her to do that because I wasn't there. And it made me feel so proud of her, because it's like, even though I'm not there, she's carrying something for me. And so, and she knew how important that was. She knew how much light and how much it brought back to the community to do that. She's 4th generation Chicano Park, she's my grandparents, my parents, me and her, she's 4th generation into that park. And so what a beautiful thing, that's the 4th generation, and 3 more after that is that 7. So we're continuing a cycle and a legacy of health and wellness. And even if we don't have it all together, every generation, we try to make it just a little bit better. We try to do it just a little bit better so that our children can continue the work, not that we left behind for them to do, but the work that they were intended to do, the work that was meant for them, God's work, Creator's work. So just really grateful to learn that and to try to be a part of that. Like I said, I'm a pitiful human being and I don't always follow it, but when I can, I do. And when I give it to my little seeds, I try to give it to them as much as possible, because I know someday I won't be here, just like my dad. My dad's not here, but his legacy, his work, his voice, his music, his laughter, it's still here. It's still here in all of us. So, yeah.
Esmi, have you ever lost your way? So in this journey, because your work, it's all a part of your whole self, both this work for your community, the spiritual work that you do, and your spiritual work is not just for you, but also for your family and to your community. Have you ever lost your way, or have you always been really centered and grounded?
Of course, every day. I live in this society. Like I've been complaining about it all year, but I'm like, capitalism's got me really messed up this year. Um, and every day, little, they used to call me Dragon Mom. Like I'm mad, I'm angry. I think internally it's because I'm not living off the land and doing the things that I want to do because I have to like live the struggle, you know. I have to make $1 out of 15 cents every day, you know. Yeah, I lose my way every day, you know. And so what grounds me, what helps me, what reminds me is, man, days like today, you know, days like when I see the elders and I see how grateful they are to like get the fruits and vegetables that I brought to them that came from an organic farm that was planted by all raza and folks from the south side. Like that's what grounds me again, you know. You know what grounds me is you know, seeing folks that, you know, that don't have anything but their spirituality, and that's all they care about, and that helps them to just move forward, to get through their diabetes and their high blood pressure and everything else they have, you know. And I know there's so many other things they could do, but that helps them in the moment. So absolutely, you know, I live here, I live in the United States, I live in this place where like I said, capitalism, like it tears our spirit apart every single day. It breaks me apart like a mom, like a woman, like an indigenous woman. So, you know, I just try to turn to my medicine, turn to water, drinking water, trying to eat healthy, maybe eat some more vitamins, you know. Absolutely. I get lost every day, you know, and I really think about like, you know, well, why am I trying to stay so grounded? Why is it so important for me to give this back to my kids when, like, you know, maybe it's just easier for them to be on a video game and to be traviesos, you know. And I think about, you know, no, there's something more to this life than that. And there's so much more to what we have to do here, you know. And so I remind them by like the work that my dad has done, or I remind them by the gifts that they have, or, you know, I make my son come, you know, chop wood with me so we can, you know, have a sweat. You know, I remind my daughter of how important it is to, you know, to take care of herself and to take care of the fire. So she, when she's with her nana and I'm not there, she can do that. So absolutely, yes. You know, it's so hard. It's so hard to live in these two worlds. And you know, I think that what helps me to stay grounded is just, we don't have a choice. Like, you know, it's something that our family left for us to do. And like, we just don't have a choice. It's just kind of seeing something that you just didn't want to see, but now you've seen it and like, you can't forget about it. So we just don't have a choice, you know? I really wish I could get more lost, because it's hard being able to see everything all the time. And knowing how much people suffer, knowing how much injustice there is, you know. So what I start with is just those little things, you know. How do I take care of myself? Eat fruits and vegetables. Mm-hmm. You know, how do I like take care of my children? Tell them that I love them. You know, how do I honor like my home? Rest, you know, rest. So man, it is hard. And, you know, yes, I do lose myself. And yes, I don't have all the answers every day. But if I could get closer to just like closer to God every day, closer to Creator every day, and just keep myself humble, then I know that like I'm living, they call the righteous life, right? Like the good life, you know, and giving that to my children, because that's what they deserve, you know. And it's hard for them to understand, you know, it's hard for them to get it. But that's also too, you know, conscious parenting is like understanding who your children are and understanding what they need, you know. And sometimes it's not always about giving them like devices or materialistic things. Sometimes it's about giving them some smudge to like smudge themselves down. Mm-hmm. You know, my son's, he's an athlete, and he's a baseball player, and he hurt himself a couple of times pretty bad. And since he was little, I've been telling him, hey, mijo, do you see these medicines right here? These medicines, they heal you. But mom's not always going to be here. So you need to learn how to take care of yourself. You need to learn how to use them so that when you get sick or if you get hurt, you can heal your own body. And so since he was young, I've taught him how to do that, because I want to make sure he could take care of himself.
I don't know if we lost her. I know that her sound was getting progressive. It was much better throughout. Okay, we'll see. I'm gonna wait a minute. See if we get booted back up.
I'm here. Is everything okay? I don't know what happened.
Yeah, you left off talking about your son about to your son about the medicines.
Yeah, just that he knows how to use the medicines for his own personal healing. So that's something that we do. I know.
One of the I'm so grateful, you know, Esmi, to be having this conversation with you. So your dad was my godfather, and I saw him my entire life. But because you know, you're one of 6, right?
Number 3.
And so we did not necessarily, like, I saw you growing up, but we didn't spend time together growing up. But I saw your dad, I saw my Nino all the time, and I saw your mom a lot. And it's really been as adults and very recently that we've been able to connect. And I always, you know, when I was 18, your older sister, Ishkatli, and I found ourselves at Southwestern Community College together. And so we got to know each other really well. And I always knew, like, I was like, those are my god sisters. Like, I have god siblings. That's my godfather. Those are his kids. That's my god sister. And thank you for sharing your words, your palabra, your learning, your thoughts with us and with me. Thank you for your guidance and your sharing. And I know that it was my Nino, I know it was your dad that brought us back together.
Yeah, I know, same here. Get teary-eyed. I was so proud. So thank you. Yes, thank you. And just thank you for allowing me to have this space to be able to share and to share these words. You know, I don't know where they're going to or how they're impacting anybody today, but I just feel really grateful to share these words at this time. I feel like it's such a special time, you know. It's such a special time for us to just learn from each other and just be able to give back to each other in such a beautiful way, you know. So just thank you for allowing me to be here. It means a lot, you know, and I'm just grateful to you and all the work that you do. The impact that this has on so many different people, so many different parents. It's really hard to be a parent today. It's really hard. So thank you.
I'm thinking, what do you think if I play, because I have it queued up, if I play your dad's Chicano Park Samba on the way out, because we still have some time.
I think that would be perfect for today. I think that would be perfect.
Okay, stay on, put yourself on mute, and I'm gonna cue it up. So Sasha, I'm gonna go ahead and mute her. I'm gonna share my screen because I have it queued. Let me get him up here, and let me see if I can get this to play. Sorry, oops. I went all the way, let's go back. Here we go.
In the year 1970, in the city of San Diego, under the Coronado Bridge, lied a little piece of land. A piece of land that the community of Logan Heights wanted to make into a park. A park where all the chavalitos could come and play in, so they wouldn't have to play in the street anymore and get run over by a car. A park where all the viejitos could come and just sit down and watch the sun go down in the tarde. A park where all the familias could come and just get together on a Sunday afternoon and celebrate the spirit of life itself. But the city of San Diego said, chale, we're gonna make a highway patrol substation here, man. So on April the 22nd, 1970, La Raza of Logan Heights and other Chicano communities of San Diego got together and they organized and they walked on the land and they took it over with their picks and their shovels and they began to build their park. And today, that little piece of land under the Coronado Bridge is known to everybody as Chicano Park. It began in 1970 under the Coronado Bridge en mi barrio in San Diego, where my people began to fight for Chicano Park, for Chicano Park, under the bridge, under the bridge, under the bridge. We shall continue to live, my brother. We shall continue to fight, my friend. We shall continue to live, my brother. We shall continue to fight, my friend. For Chicano Park, under the bridge. For Chicano Park, under the bridge. Shall continue to live, my brother. We shall continue to fight, my friend. We shall continue to live, my brother. We shall continue to fight, my friend. For Chicano Park, under the bridge. For Chicano Park, under the bridge. Que vivan los barrios unidos, que vivan los barrios unidos, que vivan los barrios unidos.
I'm sorry, I cut it short. I think the connection and Esme also dropped off. But I'm glad that I got a chance to share the song with you, if not all of it, most of it, and to share the story of Chicano Park with you, and to share, sorry, but to share Esme with you, her heart and her spirit, and just very grateful and blessed. So good night from on behalf of all of my ancestors and those that love me. Good night. I wish you well. Have a good night. I'll see you tomorrow.